All right, I found a video that would be fun to react to. So let's see what these issues with the gym are. Maybe we can help them.
To avoid while working out. Number 1. A man was running on a treadmill in a local gym in India Saraswati Vihar. He was doing his cardio for the day when he started feeling dizzy and lightheaded. So he stopped running and all of a sudden he collapsed and started convulsing. 2 other gym goers checked up on him and alerted emergency services. Medics arrived and brought him to the hospital, but sadly he was already dead. His name was Siddharth Kumar.
Well, I think that one's pretty simple. Don't do any cardio.
Yeah, I think that not doing cardio is great for health.
Yeah, or do a sports physical. So the actionable takeaway here is, there's different criteria that we look for from both family history standpoint of early cardiovascular death, even things like your hand to wrist ratio. Auscultation can help. EKGs also help. There's kind of this big controversy whether EKGs are worth it. And then depending on the EKG criteria, all endurance athletes do these. People might be familiar with Christian Eriksen, the soccer player that passed out during a game. But all exercise has risks. But for most people, the benefit outweighs the risk for cardio.
Yeah, and I'm going to add to it like this little guy right on my finger right here, the Ultra Human Ring. I actually do the Ultra Human Ring instead of Oura Ring. I don't want to pay a membership fee, so that's one reason why I do it.
Agreed.
The biggest thing that actually picks up for me, because I have Graves and I need to watch my cardiovascular markers, is the core temperature changes. When my temperature spikes, that would allude to getting sick or something like that. That can be a also reflection of your adrenals and if you're pumping out adrenaline or not, and that's affecting your heart rate. So temperature change always shows, for me at least, before a heart rate spike actually. So I can prepare for a event if it's going to go on. If your left arm's going numb or you're feeling tingling through the face and the tongue, be aware and don't hop on a treadmill and stroke out, what it sounds like happen, or have a cardiovascular event.
Go see your functional chiropractor for having those symptoms.
And he was only around 20 years old, too young to die from a heart attack. Although he was routinely going to this gym, most conclusions ended up that his body was not adapted to the cardio and he pushed himself too far. His death was tragic, and it's important to have a gradual approach for exercising at the gym, as well as monitoring heart rate and hydration. Number 2. Imagine the most dangerous equipment in the gym that could possibly injure or kill you. You may think of bench press, a Smith machine, or a 150-pound dumbbell, right? Now, how about if I told you a treadmill? You might laugh in my face and then tell me to go to Weenie Head Juniors because of how harmless a treadmill is. Well, that's exactly what someone thought, rightfully, before they died in Delhi, India. Saksham Pruthi was at a gym on a Tuesday morning at 7:30 a.m. He decided to use a treadmill at the gym for one of his workouts. He was running and doing his usual pace when all of a sudden he collapses and falls near the machine. Other people at the scene saw him collapse and tried to rescue him, but when they touched him, they felt an electrical shock. He was taken to a hospital and was pronounced dead from electrocution. Turns out the treadmill he was using was faulty. It had multiple complaints about giving shocks to people who used it, but the facility did nothing about it. After the incident, the gym was closed and the owner was arrested due to the negligence of the equipment. I'm glad this gym was closed so nobody else could get killed from a faulty treadmill, but it's unfortunate because he died at 24 years old.
So the takeaway from this one, I think, is don't go on a treadmill in India.
Yeah, twice. Maybe we could skip this one because there's not a lot of takeaways other than go to reputable businesses.
Number 4. It's July 15th at the Paradise Gym in Bali, where a man is going to perform squat presses with a 450-pound barbell. This man is an Indonesian bodybuilder that has an Instagram following of 35,000 people. He's also a fitness trainer at the gym he is working out in, so he's not an amateur when it comes to working out correctly. He's ready to do a rep for the 450-pound squat press and has a spotter with him just in case he trains to failure. He squats the weight and starts standing up but can't. It's too heavy. The spotter tries to help lift it up but can't bring the weight up for the lifter to stand. He squats back down and falls onto his butt, and all the weight rolls onto the back of his neck, resulting in his neck snapping. He's rushed to medical attention and they perform an emergency operation, but unfortunately it's not enough to save his life. Justin Vicky.
I've seen this video actually. It was actually like shocking to see. there have been times when I've been in the gym and the person like if they don't know how to spot you properly, they pull you back and you're done. So when you're doing heavyweight like that, have spotters on both sides, side spotters, and then squatting down, or just use a safety bar. But the good lifters like that can bail it at the bottom. So, and you just roll the bar off the back.
Yeah. Pretty surprising to see. And I guess I've heard the devil's advocate say, even if you know how to bail it out of the bottom, then why not have safety bars or a power cage, which I kind of understand. But at the same time, I've been squatting like not too dissimilar weight, as I'm sure you have too, probably much heavier weight, and not had safety bars purely just because at the Lifetime that I go to, I have safety bars. But at the CrossFit gym that I go to, there is no safety bars anywhere. And CrossFitters are, at least the ones that are still going there regularly, are great at avoiding injury, including injury from lifting without safeties. But I have kind of been tempted to think, for people who are really lifting the heavier weights, the squats, the whatever else, maybe they should be more cognizant of using safeties.
Yeah, I've actually dislocated or subluxed my elbow one time because when I went to rack the weight, they had to help me back up and it slid down my back. So I had it on my elbows.
no.
And when I went to load the one side, it spring loaded the other side and like snapped it. And I almost like, I couldn't lift actually for like a week or so, but it's be cautious when lifting heavyweight. I don't know. Some people don't need to be doing that, but if you're a professional lifter, different ball game. You're going to be equipped. You're going to have everything around you that you need to.
It is scary because he was very experienced. I'm sure he knew how to bail weight and had done it many times. So yeah, hopefully that provides good takeaways for people. If possible, use safeties and spotters on the sides.
That was cringe though, that video. I remember it. Because that happened last year, I think.
A man in Iowa in the United States of America is bench pressing at the gym. His name is Kyle Thompson and is a 22-year-old senior studying at Iowa State University. He has a spotter with him while doing his bench press routine. He puts 315 pounds on the barbell and starts his rep, but the bar suddenly slips from his hands and falls right on his neck. The spotter gets the weight off of him and checks if he's alright. Staff from the gym give him CPR up until first responders arrive at the scene. He was transported to Iowa Methodist Medical Center where Kyle died from major internal injuries due to the trauma on his neck. I wasn't able to find more information on how exactly the bar slipped from Kyle's hands. However, I could presume that he was using the suicide grip. This is where your fingers are wrapped around the bar without the thumb underneath. This makes it possible for the weight to slip onto the person, so it may have been the cause.
Yeah, I was actually going to say that. It's literally called suicide grip for that reason. I'm guilty of it though, because it feels more comfortable for me. But I would say, even if you're an experienced lifter, like it feels better to actually have the thumb over or minimum wrapping in the bar, something like that. But
also, if you're a pretty heavy bencher, you probably have a decent sized chest, and you can very likely also use safety bars to where it's not going to crush your neck. Now, it might crush your chest a little bit. Hopefully not a lot. That may or may not be foreshadowing. But yeah, I was surprised at how relatively light the weight was. It was only 315 pounds. If that makes sense.
Yeah, but
heavy weight for a lot of people. But I would have thought if it's enough weight to cause a fatal injury, that it would be heavier.
Yeah, just like dropping that directly on your neck and closing up that windpipe.
Yeah.
Mohammed Faraj's machine makes it so the bar has a predetermined path that slides vertically and has a barbell that if it is twisted, the bar will catch itself. He begins to use the machine for his exercise routine, and all is normal. When people at the gym hear a loud crash by the machine, it turns out that Mohammed had lost control and had somehow injured his head. 2 people at the gym ran over to his body to give him CPR. Emergency services arrive shortly after 7 p.m. where they do their best to try and resuscitate Mohammed, but it isn't enough. He was pronounced dead at the gym on October 16th, 2024. No official source says exactly how the bar ended up falling onto his head. If I were to guess, however, it would be he thought he twisted the bar on the hook and let go prematurely, leading it to fall on his head. Honestly, I would just avoid using this machine altogether. Not only is it an artificial path for your bar to travel, if the weight is too heavy and you have no spotter, you can't roll off of it or unbalance the bar to one side and get it off of it.
All right, I'm going to defend this Smith machine here. I like the Smith machine for incline press for sure. For some reason, it's very difficult though to actually rack it when you're doing flat bench. I don't know what it is about it, but it's very difficult to actually make sure that it's hooked in. I've done it before where it's like gone down an extra pin. I like had to snap it back really fast to get it locked in. Incline tends to not be as bad, but I could definitely see that happening.
Yeah, I agree. And another point on the Smith machine, you can still use a spotter even on the Smith machine, or two.
Is bench pressing at a public gym. His name is Xiao Hu and is accustomed to working out by himself. He decides to load up 220 pounds on a barbell to train his chest and takes out his phone to record himself. He puts on a weightlifting belt and is ready to bench press. He lifts the barbell and lowers the weight onto his chest and begins to push it up, but his arms begin shaking. It's too heavy. The weight begins to slowly lower back to his chest, then slips onto his neck, pinning him to the bench. He's making desperate efforts to lift the weight and place it back on the rack, but to no avail. He tries to unbuckle his weightlifting belt, but he can't, and with his deteriorating strength, lifts his legs to move the bar up, but it's not moving. He's knocked unconscious from asphyxiation and no one notices Xiao up until 2.5 minutes later. 2 gym employees rush over and take the barbell off of him. Seeing his lifeless state, they take him to the hospital where he is later determined as deceased.
Don't put clips on the bar. Like when you're doing bench press, especially with 225, and I was just talking about the story when I tore my chest with 315 earlier this year or last year, and I had to bail the weight. Like my chest tore and I was able to bail the weight on the sides, and the person next to me apologized for not being there to spot me. I was like, I would have grabbed you to spot me, but I don't have clips on the side in case if something like this happens.
Yeah, that's a good point. Also, as you mentioned, it would have probably helped if he had a spotter. So that's something to think about. And then when you're bringing the bar down, I think a common theme of the bench press injuries is that people are resting the bar, up very high on their chest, almost more on their neck. So if you do know you're going to fail, you can also kind of teach yourself to fail beneath your pecs, and then it's not going to asphyxiate you.
Yeah. You can bail the bar off your body too, like by rolling it down yourself. Yep. It hurts. It doesn't feel the best, obviously, but your legs are obviously stronger than your neck is.
Yes.
Woman is at a gym with her daughter in Mexico City. She's using a Smith machine, the same kind of machine that took Muhammad's life. However, the exercise she is performing is different, a squat press instead of a bench press with the barbell. She has a bench seat underneath her while she is about to perform a squat. She decides to squat 400 pounds on the Smith machine. A man helps rack the weights on for her, and the daughter stands by and watches her mother about to squat the weight. She lifts the bar and twists it, letting the entire load onto her shoulders. The moment she bends her knees, she immediately falls with the weight onto the bench below, where the entire 400 pounds lands on her neck. The man and daughter immediately are shocked and try to remove the weight, but fail, up until 2 other people help take the weight off of her. She is flipped on her side, where she is found unalived.
That one's just sad. Yeah. Lots of things went wrong with that.
Don't ego lift, you guys, especially for your loved ones.
Yeah.
Do it for yourself. Unalived. I forgot that they can't say certain things on social media.
Yeah.
August 25th, 2012, at a powerlifting gym, there was a 34-year-old man named Igor Galushkin. He was a very fit and strong individual who competed in powerlifting from Russia. A powerlifting competition consists of 3 core lifts: squat, deadlift, and bench press, where the winner is the one who can lift the most amount of weight summed up from the 3 categories. In this case, Igor was bench pressing 400 pounds for his competition to win. However, when he almost successfully lifted the barbell, his hands suddenly slipped off the bar, and the weight fell onto his chest. The spotters were stunned and immediately took the weight off of him. Igor drank water and covered his face with his hands, having felt such terrible pain. He felt his condition getting worse from his chest area and was soon taken to the hospital. It had turned out that he had ripped his diaphragm and crushed his ribs from the 400-pound barbell. Medics did the best they could, however, Igor later died from a cardiac concussion at the hospital.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. That one was just a ton of weight. So even if it's not on your neck, that's very sad.
Ribs can only handle so much.
Yeah, I suppose maybe another point for having safety bars on some bench presses. Maybe a spotter would have prevented that.
I just think
maybe
that
it was
not doing
suicide grip.
Suicide grip. It's again suicide grip. I see it so many times where suicide grip goes wrong, and even with the spotter. With 405, you're not catching 405 on the way down, no matter how strong you are.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe side spotters would catch it, right? But
maybe also some chalk. If you're really like an elite bencher, benching 400 plus pounds, then chalk is reasonable. The right thickness of bar can make a big difference with the twisting. Maybe that's my excuse for not being a good bencher is my arms are so long that it's way up there. So that's a lot further to fall than, if my arms were only this long, then
I feel like my arms are almost
scary.
as long as yours, and I'm a foot shorter than you.
Yeah, optic illusion, I think. But yeah, obviously not an excuse to not bench. Just regardless of the length of your arms, you should avoid suicide grip, use spotters, possibly use safety bars, and maybe use chalk if your gym allows it.
Yep, and no clips unless if it's 405 plus.
I think that covers it for that video. So it's a little bit different. Hopefully people enjoyed that and got some good actionable advice for their training.
Avoid treadmills in India.